When I think back to that night, it still feels like a dream, or maybe a lesson that changed how I understood love, patience, and trust. My name is Emily Carter, I'm 31, and I live in Austin, Texas, with my husband Michael. We've been married for almost 6 years. On the surface, we were the picture of a happy couple, good jobs, a cozy home, and friends who often said we were perfect together. But anyone who's been married long enough knows that perfection doesn't really exist. What looks calm from the outside can sometimes be full of quiet storms within. It all began one Thursday evening in late autumn. I came home from work exhausted, clutching a paper cup of lukewarm coffee, expecting the usual, dinner half ready, our dog Charlie wagging his tail, and Michael typing away on his laptop. But that night, the house was silent. No music, no TV, just the faint ticking of the old clock above our kitchen counter. Michael was sitting at the dining table, staring at something on his phone. He looked up the moment I walked in. His expression was unusual. Not angry, not sad, just distant, as if his mind was somewhere else. "Hey," I said softly, setting down my bag. "You okay?" He hesitated before replying, "Yeah. I've just been thinking about something." The way he said it made me pause. "Something serious?" He nodded slowly. "Kind of. I need to ask you something, but it's a little strange." That caught me off guard. Michael wasn't the type to be mysterious. He was direct, logical, an engineer who believed everything could be solved with reason and honesty. But that night, his tone was different. "All right," I said, sitting across from him. "What's on your mind?" He sighed deeply. "Promise me you won't think I've lost it." I smiled nervously. "I'll try." Then he said it, the strange request that would shape everything that followed. "I want us to spend the whole weekend with no phones, no work, no talking about the future, just pretending we're strangers meeting for the first time." I blinked. "Strangers?" He nodded. "Yes. Like we don't know each other at all. We'll spend the weekend as if we just met, rediscovering each other." At first, I laughed, thinking he was joking. But he wasn't. His eyes were serious, almost pleading. "I know it sounds crazy," he continued, "but I feel like we've forgotten who we were before all the responsibilities and expectations took over. I want to feel that spark again, the one we had when we first met." For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. Life had been so busy lately, deadlines, bills, family obligations. Maybe he was right. Maybe we had been living next to each other instead of with each other. "Okay," I finally said, smiling. "Let's do it." He looked both surprised and relieved. "You mean it?" "Yeah," I said. "No phones, no work, just strangers. The first day, the stranger in my living room. The next morning, I woke up to find a handwritten note on my bedside table. It read, "Greater than, good morning, miss. I heard there's a lovely woman staying in this house. Mind if I take her to breakfast? Signed, a stranger." I couldn't help but laugh. Michael had actually taken this seriously. I played along, leaving a reply on the note. "Greater than, only if the stranger promises good coffee." When I walked into the kitchen, he was already dressed neatly, jeans, a white shirt, hair perfectly styled, and 2 cups of coffee were waiting. He smiled. "Hi, I'm Michael. I just moved into the neighborhood." I played along. "I'm Emily. Welcome. Coffee smells good." We talked, really talked, about travel dreams, favorite childhood memories, music, things we used to discuss years ago before life got heavy. For the first time in months, I saw that light in his eyes again. We spent the whole day pretending to be new friends. We went to a local park, tried new food, and even asked each other questions like it was our first date. "What's your biggest fear?" he asked. "Losing people I love," I replied softly. He looked at me quietly and said, "Then I guess you and I are afraid of the same thing." The second day, secrets and surprises. The next morning, Michael surprised me with another idea. He wanted us to write letters to our past selves, the people we were when we first fell in love. I wrote about how I used to believe love could fix anything, how I admired his calmness, how I missed his spontaneous laughter. When we exchanged letters that evening, his words broke me. Greater than, dear Emily from 6 years ago. You were the light that made my dark days bearable. But somewhere along the way, I stopped telling you that. I thought being strong meant staying quiet. I was wrong. This weekend, I just wanted to find you again, and I did. I couldn't speak. Tears rolled down my cheeks as he took my hand. The final night, the truth behind the request. That night, as we sat by the fireplace, Michael finally told me why he had planned all of this. He had been diagnosed with mild anxiety and had been struggling in silence for months. He said he didn't want to worry me, but he realized that pushing me away was hurting us both. I thought if I could remind myself why I fell in love with you, he said, maybe I'd find my strength again. I hugged him, holding him tightly as tears fell onto his shoulder. Michael, I whispered, you don't have to fight alone anymore. For hours, we sat there in silence, no pretending, no acting, just two people who finally understood each other again. A year later, it's been a year since that weekend. We still laugh about our stranger game, but it changed everything. We now make it a ritual. Once every few months, we go on a first date, again, talk like we just met, and remind ourselves that love isn't something that stays alive on its own. You have to feed it, nurture it, and sometimes, rediscover it. Sometimes, the strangest requests come from the deepest pain, but they also lead to the most beautiful healing. That night, when Michael asked me to be a stranger, he was really asking me to help him find himself again. And in helping him, I found myself too. And yes, it truly left me speechless. Moral of the story: love isn't about always knowing what your partner needs, it's about being willing to listen, even when what they ask sounds strange. Sometimes, that's where the real magic begins.